Special counsel Robert Mueller has filed charges against Russian intelligence officers for hacking the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign. Well, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein made the announcement during a press conference Friday morning.
The internet allows foreign adversaries to attack America in new and unexpected ways. Free and fair elections are always hard fought and contentious. There will always be adversaries who seek to exacerbate our divisions and try to confuse, divide, and conquer us. So long as we are united in our commitment to the values enshrined in the Constitution, they will not succeed.
Dan Patterson is a senior producer at CNET. He's also read over the multi-page indictment that details the tactics used in these hacks. Dan, the tactic they used was spear phishing. Can you give us a sense of exactly what we know about it?
Yeah, so the key takeaways here for the entire indictment are that this was a very simple attack and inexpensive attack. Spear phishing is a precision version of all of the wide net phishing attacks that we hear about. Now, a regular phishing attack might target hundreds, thousands, or even millions of accounts because it's not precise. Spear phishing is, just like the name implies, a precision attack. What's interesting here is the use of social media to determine the targets. So if you look at your Facebook, your Twitter account, you're likely following friends and family, maybe colleagues. Some of those colleagues are people who might allow you to have access to a system. They might be administrators or those who have username and password rights that give server access.
Yeah.
So spear phishing allowed the Russians to precision target people within the DNCC and the Clinton campaign.
So looking back, Dan, is there anything the Clinton campaign could have done that could have protected them?
Yes, and there are things that all of us can do to protect ourselves. First, when an email drops into your inbox, make sure that you read the to from fields. That's
like
really,
the actual email account.
Yeah, the actual email accounts. One of the tactics that spear phishers use is to swap a letter, and this is one of the things that the Russians did. So it looks like it's coming from Dan, but the email may say DNA instead of DAN. And if you're just breezing through a long list of emails, it's easy for you to open that and think that this is a legitimate email.
Gotcha. And how much did this actually cost the Russian government? Do we have a sense of that?
Less than $100,000 in Bitcoin.
Less than $100,000?
Less than $100,000.
So it really costed them nothing to do this?
It cost very little money. Now, it probably costs a lot in terms of manpower. They did develop their own malware and keylogger systems, but this is not expensive. This is almost commodified in the info security world. So what they really invested in was psychological warfare and making sure that they could trick people into falling for these spear phishing type of attacks.
When you look at this indictment, what stood out to you?
Well, a number of things stood out to me. Of course, the simplicity, the cost stood out, but also the tactics. The tactics that were used are, if you were to write a playbook on how to hack a system for under $100,000, you would leverage the things that the Russians did. Now, there is a laundry list that I'm sure we'll have on CBSNews.com, but really what they did is exploit holes in Microsoft Exchange and some PowerShell scripts. This sounds like technical jargon, but really what it means is that if you've ever used Microsoft, you can hit one key and it will execute a number of commands. They did the same thing in Ukraine. In fact, the Russians likely used Ukraine as a test bed for cyber attacks targeted at the U.S. What will people fall for? How can we trick people into executing all of these different commands?
Dan Patterson, it's just fascinating to see exactly how these tactics were used and what it could mean for the future as well. Thank you for joining us.